What is it? Mule time? Yeah. Yeah, this is mule time, huh? What time is it? What time is it? It's mule time.
Y'all, it's that time. It's Mule and Donkey time. We are going to talk Mule and Donkey. Who are we? Me is Dave. Him is Steve. And every Tuesday at 3 o'clock Arizona time, we talk Mule and Donkey. Now, I say 3 o'clock Arizona time because, Steve, you and I, we are out here in the wild, wild west. And we do things differently out here.
Eagle
And with
West.
that, their government came in and said, we're going to make you, we decide what time it is. We said, no, sir, you don't. You do not decide what time that is. You say, we got it set up by the good Lord. He told us what time it was. And
Right.
so we decided in Arizona, we're not going to do the daylight savings time. We're going to stick it out with standard time. And that means next week, for everyone in Arizona, we're going to be meeting at 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. But everybody else, even our Mountain Pacific Time, so folks who aren't in the Arizona Mountain Standard Time, even our Pacific Time, it's going to change. Or even in our, it is going to change. So 3 o'clock Pacific Time, 4 o'clock Mountain Time, 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. So now that we got that out of the way, it's been a whole week since we've talked. Steve, how's it going?
Well, we're plodding along. Always got something to fix and this sort of thing. Been working on the motorhome here, and got the shades working and a couple other odds and ends. And now we turn the water pump on. The water pump wouldn't work, so we have to take a look at that RV pump. Hey, it's fun. That's one thing about ranching and cowboying. There's always something to do. It's not just a matter of riding or working cattle. And cattle wise, we got all these cows right outside the door here, almost, and the neighbor's cattle. And my dog's about to go crazy because these calves are everywhere, and he wants to go work a cow. Jess, you want to get the cow? Yeah, yeah, okay. But we'll do that a little later. Anyway, Jess says he's a Republican and he wants to go to work.
He's
Okay,
going to get,
Jess,
he
go
says,
ahead.
open up the gate and let me out of here. Jess is
That's
ready to
right.
go. Well, don't go just yet, Jess, because we need you for the next 60 minutes. Jess, folks are counting on you to talk to Steve there so Steve can interpret for you because we need to teach these people how to communicate with the mule. The mule already knows how to communicate. The mule already knows what to do. But it's us that got to learn the lesson, and that's what we hope to do here. We're going to help you learn the lessons, take what we've learned, what Steve has learned since working with the mule so that you can get out there and just enjoy life with these four-legged creatures, hopefully a four-legged creature. You ever seen a three-legged mule, Steve?
No,
I
no.
haven't.
I've seen a one-eyed mule.
Yeah, yeah. Linda, the mule servant, Theo, the one eyed mule. We talked to them a lot of times, and we've had other folks who have come on asked about one eyed mule, but no three legged mules. We're talking about all four legs. We want to make sure it's a great ride, it's a great drive, it's a great pack, it's a great pony, whatever the case might be. The way this works is there's three things we ask of you. First and foremost, jump in with our friends who are already doing this and share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like. That's how we get to know you. That's how we get to understand and learn about your situation and make this more and more valuable for you. So please share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like. And if you are one of the lurkers who has been watching for weeks, maybe months, maybe even years, and you haven't said hello, this is your sign to say hello. The second thing, go ahead and start asking any and every mule or donkey question that you got. I've got several lined up that have come in over the course of the last week, but we really want to serve you too. So whatever questions you got, put them in there. We will make sure that you get an answer. The third thing is that you share the broadcast with friends and family. And I'm going to tell you, folks, it's been a little bit lighter the last couple weeks on the shares. I've been watching and I haven't seen as many. So I'd love it if you would take this and on Facebook, tag some friends, maybe click that share button. And when it says, what do you want to say? Tell them what you love about the program. And we'll get a few more folks in here and help them gain the trust of their animal, get results when they train, and have a great time. I want to say hello to Leslie and Steve, actually, right
Yeah.
here. Um, here we
She's
go.
ready.
There we
She's ready. There she
go. She
is.
sent in the hat. She got the hat, Steve.
Yep, she got the hat. She got the new truck. She's got her mule already, and she's going to hit the trail. And she told me she's going to see me in Alabama. So we'll see. Or sell. Which one is it, Leslie? You're going to be, or maybe you're going to be at both. I don't know. So which mule show are you going to go to?
So all the folks, all the sudden, folks are feeling like they're left out. We're gonna see Steve in Alabama. Gonna see Steve in Tennessee. Well, I'll put links in the comment section. But Alabama, Tuscumbia, Alabama, March 27th through 30th is the Seven Springs Mule Ride. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll put a link in the comment section. There's still time for you to make that happen and get your stuff together and get down to Alabama. And if that's a little bit too quick, but you want to get there before the weather gets real hot, well, you can go to Columbia, Tennessee to Mule Day there. It's going to be a lot of fun there, and I'll put links in the comment section. So which one is it, Leslie? Where are we going to see you at? Hannah is watching from Dunelin, Florida, 76 degrees, gorgeous. God bless America. Hannah, does Rose know that you're watching from her account? Maybe Rose is there. Hello, Rose. Dave O'Brien from Davis, Oklahoma today, 61 degrees, watching the storms go by. What are you doing traveling? What you doing in the Oklahoma part of the world, Dave? Polly from Barnesville, Minnesota. She's reporting that it's 30 today. Rode my Steve Edwards saddle yesterday at 50 degrees. Got me a new mule. I'll be ordering another saddle setup. Get it, Polly. Get it. We'll get it out to you. Send pictures. We want to see it. Edna's watching. Beautiful day in Spring Hill, Florida. 75 and sunny. Ted is watching from Potosi, Missouri. Rain, 40 degrees. Leslie says, over the winter, my favorite mule looks think on her backbone. Still chubby tubby. No ribs are showing. Why did her top line get so thin over the winter? Does that make sense, Steve?
Yep. How old is she?
How old is she, Leslie? And
Yeah,
Leslie says she's going to see you in Tennessee. She's going to
Tennessee.
see you
All
in
right. Good
Tennessee,
deal. Yeah.
in Columbia. So why
So
does the age matter, Steve?
yeah. So what happens is as we get older, our chest falls to our drawers. Yeah, that's what happens. And the muscles uh, they start getting weaker and this sort of thing. And the top line usually goes first. Now, to help maintain the top line, that's one of the biggest reasons I feed whole oats, not crimped oats, whole oats. Okay, that gives them energy and it helps them get throughout the day. If you just feed them their normal feed, they will start sucking off the top line. Okay, their body will start using the muscles on that top line, and so it's a norm. That's one of the reasons that I have the one triple duty pad for some of these older mules where you kind of makes up for the top line being gone, and that's also another reason why all of my pads have in the middle where the two pads come together, there's a ridge area through there, and you don't want to have your saddle setting down completely flush against that spine. So that's one of the reasons I developed the saddle the way I did and the pad the way I did. So maybe that helps her out. Leslie, you always want to be feed all of you, the trail riding, up and coming trail riding, so that your mules got energy but also so that they don't start weakening the top line. Feed that whole oats. It makes a big difference.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the question. And Leslie says unknown. So anything else with the unknown? I mean, you just kind of answered it.
Well, yeah, it's hard to tell unless you know your teeth a little bit. Do you know where the Galvin's groove is? That's really important. Dave, did we send you pictures of the mouth for Dave Pingali?
I don't recall. Usually, I can recall if they came in real quick. I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can track it down. Do you have it handy? If you send it to me, if you text it to me, I can get it up on the screen.
I'm pretty sure I maybe still have it. I thought I'd sent it to you because Dave Pingelli bought himself a new mule, and he was asking me how old it was, and he sent me the pictures of it, and I was I thought it'd be something I'd be talking about here.
I'll look.
Well,
I'll look as
man, I
well.
think
While you're
recently,
checking real quick, I want to say
yeah.
hello to Sherman, watching from Norman, Oklahoma, 60 degrees and storms are rolling in. Ivy is watching from New Sharon, Maine. And Hannah, what? Hannah was on Rose's YouTube account, but now she's on her own Facebook account. So, Florida 76, gorgeous, God bless America. And Leslie followed up by saying, I do feed oats, but how much a day?
Well, I usually let them. I don't feed it per day. I feed it as we're getting ready to go ride. So let's just say I'm going to ride. I'll go put a nose bag on them. Let them eat all they want until I got them saddled, ready to go. So basically, it's probably about a quart a ride in general.
Awesome. Thanks for the question. Appreciate that, Leslie. Jane is watching from North Florida, 77 and sunny, but the rain is coming tomorrow. The next question I have, this one comes from Annie. This was sent in during the last week. Says, we are getting our first mini donkey this weekend. We will be getting another one in a month or two. She's still too young to leave her mother. I know donkeys are very special, and I'm worried that this one will have to be alone for a month. Do y'all have any suggestions? She's young. She was born last September, I think. She gets a lot of attention from us, but I'm worried about her transition and not being with any other donkeys for a little while. We don't have horses either, just dogs, and I understand that sometimes that can help. I appreciate your help. General tips are welcome too.
You bet. So here's the deal, folks. You don't have to have another donkey around, another goat, or another mule or something like that. You need to be the herd leader and get in there, especially when she's young, like this, and get in there and do things with her and kind of be the friend. These mules, yes, these donkeys, yes, they have herd leaders. They're used to being a herd, and yes, it's important for them to be all together. But when you are building a foundation, and you're training and stuff like this, they don't you do not need to have another animal around, because you'll get to where, I've got some of my clients that got themselves a goat so that they'd have a pasture buddy there with their mule. Well, now they can't go anywhere without that goat. That goat has to go with them on a ride. I've seen the same thing with people who have Shetland ponies. They can't go anywhere without Shetland pony. And then we can go ahead and go bigger. Okay, I bought another mule, and now I can't go anywhere without the other mule, because that one mule starts pacing up and down, wants to be with them. And then the one don't want to ride out. You see, it gets to be a big monster. So my suggestion is take your baby donkey and spend time with it. Now's the time where you should be uh, doing all your basic training, picking up the feet, doing the trimming, doing your come along work, doing your ground foundation work, all that stuff.
So, Steve, one of the things that made sense to me, I finally got it probably in the last 6 months. Um, it seems like keeping them in separate stalls, there's lots of good reasons. The reason that we most frequently talk about is that way you can monitor their feed, you can monitor their health, you can monitor their pee, you can monitor their poop, you can monitor their water.
Yep, very
That's
important.
one of the first ones. The second one is that pecking order and that herd leadership. And what you said, or something like it, that made a lot of sense to me. And like I said, I heard it so many times, and then just finally it stuck. You said they're gonna get out there, and if you're they're going to establish a pecking order with these other animals, and either they're going to try to be on top, or they're going to let someone else be on top and order them around. And that's not what you want. So even if you let them hang out and whatnot, but you bring them back into feed and stuff like that, you're still losing the ability to establish, no, I am the herd leader, because they're going out and they're doing it on their own because you're not with them every second. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, basically, you've got to set that pecking order up, and it works very well, once you get it established. It's amazing that when I was at Bishop, and we were competing, when all these animals were turned loose, and everything was flying everywhere. I mean, loud music, crowds, and all this stuff. When I cued my horse, and really the reason I rode a horse is mules love gray horses. And in order to be able to have the mules be their uppermost when it comes to packing, you ride the horse and pack the mule. Well, what we found was gray horses, mules love them, and they will do anything for them. So I turned, I could see my mare coming around. I put my hand up, which was her cue to come. She come right to me. You can see it in the video. I put my halter on. Then all the rest of the other mules that were within our herds all seen her leaving, and they all came. Okay, so that's the pecking order. When it comes down to mules, they're very, very subservient to horses. And if you take them and have a couple mules over in a pasture and one of them in a corral, they will walk up and down, up and down, up and down, wanting to be with the others because they're herd animals. Okay, now no matter what you do, you're not going to change that. At my in my corrals here at the ranch, every mule has a 10 by 20 stall. Now, can they touch each other? Yeah. Can they fool with each other a little bit? Yeah, they can. Okay. Bite at each other, doing little different things like play around like they do. Okay. But they're not right together, right where they all would be feeding and watering and doing all that stuff. Okay. So my thing is, if you're going to have your babies and you're going to be doing training, when you're training, it's mega important that these animals have their own stall because you will lose if you don't do that.
Awesome. Great. Thanks so much. Let's see. Ted says drove 5 hours last week to buy one of your saddles. Now that's commitment right there. Hey Ted,
Wow.
if you need the saddle DVD or the saddle video, I've got it online. Send me a message, support at muleranch.com. I'll get you fixed up. Good for you. That's great. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing. Tim is watching from Montana. Snowed last night, but warming up. And you know what? Actually, Ted, what saddle did you get? Do you know? If you want to send a picture, I'd be happy to take a look. That'd be cool. Next question. This one comes in from Stryker. Says, I am about to adopt a 3-year-old John donkey, and I'm wondering what pellet would best ration would be the best ration balancer for his grazing and hay intake. I know donkeys require more fiber and less nutrients such as protein, fat, sugars than horses, but don't know if that includes trace minerals, so I'm unsure if pellets are necessary at all. For reference, I have a 26-year-old Molly mule that has always been fed 12 to 14% horse pellets. Now that I know that mules and donkeys have vastly different requirements, I'm going to change up her diet as well. The top two on my list are Lake and Lite or Timothy pellets. I guess my main question is if it's necessary to supplement with a pellet, if Timothy pellets would be enough, or if I should give Lakin in a combination to fill any gaps nutritionally. I have block salt minerals that the mule seems to use at her discretion. Should I be adding any other supplements or add supplements instead of a ration balancer? They are just pasture pets. They're not working hard or anything. Just want to know what's best for my little man. What a comprehensive description. That's a great description. And he said a lot of words that ring true to me, Steve. What would you say to Stryker?
Well, number one, Striker, when it comes down to feed, it's extremely important. These animals don't need all the feed that we're feeding them these days, especially you got them out on a pasture. The good thing about the Lake and Light, I helped design that 40 years ago. Well, about 30 years ago anyway. And it's got vitamins and minerals in there that your donkey and your mule would need. Now, that was what I did for the average mule that I was training on or owned at that time. Now, as we go along, yes, you're going to have this. You're going to have to understand that you need a blood test or a hair follicle test in order to be able to test it out and to know exactly what they need. For instance, a mineral block is a waste of time. All you need is a good quality salt block. That's it. Mineral block is extra things that you don't need. You don't know what minerals they need. because you don't know what's in the hay. Think about that too. Timothy pellets is wonderful. Okay, nice thing about the pellets is it helps clean your teeth as well, and it actually helps they even keep them kind of balanced. A nice thing about pellets is all of the bad stuff, the salmonella stuff, okay, is is cooked out of it, and you're giving them a pure feed, a good quality feed. That's the good thing about the pellets. So me, I'd be strictly be feeding Lake and Lite to everything. That's what I've done for years. It's a wonderful feed.
So the point there about the mineral block is that it's just like a general supplement, and it winds up you're just feeding them something that you don't know if it's actually benefiting them or not. Because
Yeah,
if you don't have that hair follicle sample test, or if you don't have the blood sample test, you're not sure what they're proficient in or what they're deficient in. So getting that
right.
done, and you can get it done by your extension center, university extension center. A lot of them will do that, and they'll give you a blood sample, or they'll give you an analysis, and that will give you insight into what you might need to feed in greater volume, or what you could cut back or eliminate based upon where they're at. And one thing you've said for a long time, Steve, is that the on the Mules Can't Stand Prosperity article that has a list of ingredients that's in the Lake and Light feed, it's really meant to be a starting point. That is not the end
Yeah,
all, be all.
no,
It's the starting point for building a nutrition program. Of course, your nutrition program is going to depend on what they need on top of how you use them. So he
yeah,
said right here, they're just pasture pets. They're not working real hard. Well, that's going to greatly affect how much you feed versus the animal that's going out there on a 3 hour ride a couple times a week. Anything else you'd
yeah.
add there, Steve?
Nope, that's perfect, man. You did good there, mule guy.
I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm doing my best to learn. Let's see here. Cowboy Ken is watching from a 41 in cloudy Connecticut. Ted says it's a Trail Light saddle. He done got himself a Steve Edwards Trail Light
Good for
saddle.
him.
That means you done well. Very good.
Congratulations.
Let's see. Okay, the next question. This one comes from Rosa, and she needs help with a food bully. I've got a 17-year-old gelding, a geriatric Molly mule, and a miniature mule. Sounds like the beginning of a joke. The miniature is about 5 to 7 years old, living on, and they're all living on 6 acres. For as long as I can remember, but more so now in the winter, I'm from Virginia. My gelding has always been food aggressive towards the others, and now he's shelter aggressive. For reference, at feeding time, they all have their respective stalls to eat their grain, so they're separate, it sounds like. And they have a round bale available all winter long in the field, and they're able to access the run in the portion of the barn 24/7 for shelter from the elements. After feeding time, I actually take individual pads of hay and scatter about, hoping to entice the gelding to pick up a spot and eat his hay without being bothered or bothering others, except it doesn't work. He refuses to let the others forage their hay wherever they go. He goes to eat and trample their food. If it's especially hot, rainy, or snowy, he hogs the shelter of the barn. They are all in good weight, so I know it's not a matter of hunger. I just don't have the means right now of separating the bully. So, are there any good suggestions for correcting this bully behavior aside from separating them?
Dave, what do you think? You think he's a bully?
I don't think I'm. I mean, what? Okay, here's what I think.
There
So,
you go. All right,
so
all
Steve,
right. Dave,
Steve's testing
Dave the
me.
mule guy's gonna lay it on us. Okay.
You can. And I am proud to have you correct me. My first thought is, number one, that just sounds like an animal. That just sounds like the temperament of the animal that it's going to be. My other thought was, I don't think you're going to be able to train that out of them. It just seems like an animal being an animal. And then my next thought was, it's not a bully. It's he's trying to establish herd leadership. He's
Yeah,
trying to be the top of the pecking order,
that's right.
and the others aren't really challenging him. So those were my first three
Exactly.
thoughts: is there's nothing you can do,
No,
and yeah, there's nothing you can do. They are the way they are. You can't train it out of them, and
no,
it's a pecking order thing.
exactly. You see, I was just saying that horses or mules and donkeys are subservient to horses. That's the way it is. And that horse will become the herd leader. Here it is. Herd leader. I'm the herd leader over the feed. I'm the herd leader of the shelter. I'll tell you which way it goes. And that is the way the good Lord designed them. Okay. That's why it's important for you to be the herd leader. Okay. It's important. Now, here's the downside of this. Okay. And think about this, Dave. Keep this in your mind because this is really important. Is that you're going to have a big vet bill if you don't do something with it. Okay. Because that horse will bite and kick. Biting and kicking can result in harm, serious harm. But it's what they do because of their pecking order. So, I had a very good friend of mine, Steve Ham in Arkansas. I was visiting him here this last September when I went to American Mule and Donkey Days. And he had just had a nice horse that was crippling on 3 legs. The fourth one was wiggling. I said, "What happened to your horse?" He says, "Well, I made the mistake of putting them in together, and one horse kicked the other horse and broke his leg." So it can happen like that, folks. You can very easily uh, end up with a big vet bill because you're not separating these animals at feeding time. At feeding time, finish at dinner time or breakfast time or whenever is when they're going to be the most aggressive. Okay, and the leader of the herd, you need to make sure everyone has its own stall and close the gate. Otherwise, that leader of the herd will go and want to go back and forth, getting everybody's hay, and he'll pick out the best of the hay and leave the junk to everybody else. So can you change it? No. The only way you can change it is to make sure each animal is in his individual stall and feed them accordingly.
All right, so I had done a little bit of research ahead of time on this just to see, and there were some folks who were saying, well, what about just using magnesium? Now, I don't know what magnesium would do, but it sounds like magnesium they're thinking will affect the behavior. Is that just affecting the chemical balance for a short period, or is that a solution?
No, there's no magnesium is not going to change that. Okay, uh, for instance, I take magnesium, and a lot of people should in Arizona, especially because it's drinking just water can actually poison you. Okay, and I get a lot of leg cramps and that sort of thing. And when I quit taking magnesium, or when I started taking magnesium, one of my clients up in Maine was a doctor. He's a naturopath. He said, "Steve, you can eat all the bananas you want, and you can do all this stuff with potassium. But if you start taking magnesium, it'll fix it." Well, I've done that. Okay. But I've yet to see any product that will change the herd leadership of an equine. The best thing I can tell you to do is put them in a corral. Each animal is on corral, and you'll fix the problem, and it'll work good. But that's the only way you're going to be able to do it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Let's see. Linda is jumping in from Portal. Let's see. Portal, Arizona. Late riding. My QH. What is a QH?
Quarter horse.
Quarter horse. There we go. See, folks, I'm still learning. 59 degrees and a bit windy, but not like yesterday. That's right. It was something else yesterday. It was unseasonably cool and
Yeah.
overcast and kind of didn't seem like it wanted to make its mind up. Bill is sharing the Mules of Ohio and Mules of Indiana, as Bill does. Nice day here. 60s with some clouds. Winter on its way back tomorrow. It just refuses to let go. Lane is watching from Central Oregon. Still have snow. I feed farm salt, but it's not coarse. Why coarse rock salt? So is there a question there, Steve? Central Oregon still have snow. I feed farm salt, but it's not coarse. Why coarse rock salt?
The only reason I feed a coarse rock salt is because I'm out packing in freight in the mountains, and then I'll feed coarse rock salt because it's tougher to carry a 50-pound block for every single mule. So I'll put the coarse rock salt in my nose bag when I'm feeding grains, and that way they'll get some of their salt. Plus the biggest problem, folks, is these animals dehydrate pretty easy, and salt not only helps with the dehydration, but it also helps their intestines to be working like they should.
All right. So, Stryker, so I sent a message back to Stryker and said, hey, we answered your question. And he replied, he says, I've had him. So, Stryker was the 3-year-old John Donkey wondering about the pellet. I've
Uh-huh.
had him for a couple of months now, and here is the feeding regimen. Partial access to a round bale of hay. We open it up in the morning and close it in the afternoons. Full access to 10 acres of completely native North Texas grasses. Full access to Redmond rock, loose salt, and mineral block I had left over. 1 time a day, I give the donkey about 2 large handfuls of a mixture of Timothy pellets and Lake and Lite. The mule gets about half a bucket of the same mixture. It's soaked for about 5 minutes before feeding. I've been adding a pump of flaxseed oil to their pellets for shedding season. They both seem to maintaining weight, not gaining or losing, so I think it's an okay diet for going into the summer months. When it was really cold, they had full access to a round bale of hay. So that's what he's doing now. Any feedback?
No, it sounds like he's doing good. They're holding their weight good and their top line looking good. Good for them.
That's great. Awesome. Thanks so much, Striker. Let's see here. Marsha's watching, warmer and sunny in Virginia. Bill says, one thing I've learned about mules is leave them alone when they are eating.
Yes.
Leave
Yeah,
me
I've got
alone
some
when I'm
clients
eating.
that yeah, I've got some clients that lady actually went to say goodbye to her mule and went and patted him on the butt. She was gonna go someplace, and that mule kicked her with both hind feet and put her in the hospital. A mule that she knew, and very well. It was her favorite mule, and he laid it out. He thought who knows what he thought, but anyway, it happened. You know, I leave him alone when it's feeding time.
Um, Vanessa is here. I recently got my first mule. Howdy, Vanessa. She will be 2 in April. She has not been handled, but 30 days at a trainer for minor groundwork. Any advice for new owner is appreciated. Okay, Vanessa, I am so glad that you are here. I got a couple pictures that Steve sent me. We'll get to those eventually, but I want to say I'm so glad that you're here, and I'll speak for Steve because he said it so many times. Uh, Good for you for trying to learn as much as you can. Good for you for trying to get that groundwork going. And I want to empower you and I want to tell you that you can do it yourself. When you get that mule back, you can do it yourself. It's not rocket science. It's just understanding a few basic principles. You've already heard some of them here already. They are going to want to establish a herd leadership. Okay? So everything that you do is about becoming that herd leader, and ground foundation's a huge part of it. You bought that nose, you paid for that nose, you bought that leg, you paid for that leg. That's your leg, that's your nose, right, Steve?
Yep, that's it. It's a nail on the
You
head.
That's it. And so what I want to tell you is that you can do it, and getting all of the information is great. And I want to tell you that the one tool, Vanessa, one thing you're going to learn about this program is we do not tell folks to buy things except one thing. We tell you that the one thing, because it's going to help you get so much more response from your animal with the least amount of effort compared to any other tool, and it's the come along rope. And we put it in a bundle called the Ground Foundation Starting Kit because it teaches you how to use it. And folks will tell you, folks chime in right now and tell Vanessa what a dream that come along rope is for communicating, because mules and donkeys care more about their nose than anything else. The come along rope communicates directly to the nose. And you can just get started by having your ground foundation by having that come along rope and have the mule stand straight. The second the mule looks off, you bump. Comes back to the center, release the pressure. Kind of decides to look off. The second he thinks about looking off, bump. Get him back to the center, pressure's gone. You're telling him, here is where I want you. When you're straight, you're comfortable. When you're straight, there's no pressure on your nose. When you look this way, it's going to make you uncomfortable. So don't look that way. You can do just that little thing, and that's ground foundation training right there. That's a way you can get started. Steve, what else would you say to Vanessa?
Yep, she's going in the right direction. You've got one a baby here that somebody's worked 30 days on. Unfortunately, they probably used an improper adjusted halter, and maybe even a nylon halter, maybe even a chain. So just forget whatever they did and start building a new foundation using this Mule Riders this come along hitch, and using the video that goes along with it. And it'll come with a halter, but just take that halter and put it on a nail on the wall, and there'll be a day you'll come to it. But folks, we have to quit relying on the halter. We got some good pictures of a shoer shoeing this mule, and nobody's holding on to it. I mean, it's you do your groundwork right, folks, and it's the best thing in the world to be able to get the mule to say, "I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be here and quiet."
All right, so I want to bring up that photo right here. So, Steve, you sent this to me right here. I got two photos. Tell us what we're looking at here.
Well, you got a shoer here, and notice that the shoer is not there. It is right there. Okay. Notice that the shoer is working away on the mule. Okay, and they're not tied to a hitch and post or anything, and he's working away right there, nice and quiet. Notice the head's down and the mule's listening. The mule's ears are listening. Okay. Now, what's the other picture here? There. Okay, you can see the come along rope is on the ground, and the mule is just standing there nice and quiet, doing all of his work. The guy can do whatever because the mule says, "I'm trained to stand here and be quiet. I'm trained to pick up my feet." And the owner of this mule, this is in Florida, by the way. The owner of this mule has done all this himself. He's not a trainer, but he followed my basic guidelines, and now he's got a mule that wants to pay attention. And he raised these mules from babies, by the way.
Yeah, pretty cool. Vanessa, I'll also tell you this, and a lot of folks who are hanging out with us right now, they've heard this before, but I'll tell you this right now. It was 2015, 2016, 2017, around there. I don't remember exactly where it was. Up until that time, every summer, Steve and Susan would load up the truck, load up the trailer, and they would travel the country doing expos, clinics, different training events, this sort of thing. And came time where Steve was getting ready to do that, and wouldn't you know it, that his hip replacement surgery that he had done in the winter, I think you had said had gone septic, Steve?
Yep.
Yep. So Steve had to go back into the hospital, had to have the surgery again, and the recovery time meant that he was not going to be able to go back out on the road and do what he had planned on doing what they had regularly been doing. And what we learned from that was that by getting on the phone, by doing this program here, by putting together some videos, by really making things as simple as possible, you don't have to have someone there standing right next to you, either watching your every move or doing it for you. What we learned is that when folks went out there and had the patience to do it themselves, they would learn, I don't have to train 2 hours, 3 hours a day. I can train 20 minutes. I can do 25 minutes. I can do 15. I can do 30 minutes, and that's it. Maybe what? A few hours a week, and that's it, Steve? You don't
Yeah,
need to be
4 to 6
training
hours.
10, 12 hours a week.
Yeah, yeah. 4 to 6 hours a week is a lot of training. It's a lot of stuff, and you can mix it up. You can do a lot of different things. You don't have to just focus on one particular thing. But uh, as you progress, you can say, "Okay, I'm going to train you to be still and look forward," and then you say, "Okay, I'm going to train you to pick up the feet." Or I'm going to train you to go in a circle. You can add to all these things, but the first thing you want to do is use the come along hitch, and you want to teach them to not move unless you say it's okay, and they'll get to where they do it. Just like here, here's this sure able to do anything he needs to do, thanks to the abilities of the come along rope and the person listening to how it gets done. So I applaud him.
Yep, very good. Thanks for the pictures. And Vanessa, I hope you'll continue to join us. Really glad that you're here, and I hope you're encouraged too. Jane says, the come along rope works wonders. Thanks so much for teaching it, Steve. My mule respects me very much now. Theodore says, the rope works perfectly. David Pingelli, hey, a fantastic mule day here in Manchester with the new mule. Thanks for all your help to all of my questions. That's real great. Good to hear from you, David. Come along coffee right there. Hey, Vanessa says, thanks so much for the kindness and encouragement. Immediately ordered the foundation bundle, waiting for it to get here to me, and so excited to get the foundation started. Hey, if you got questions, Vanessa, be sure to ask. I am not raised on land. I am not a livestock guy. I am not a equine guy. Um, all I have all the answers because or I have the answers that I have. All of the answers that I have is because I've listened to Steve and I've asked questions. I've been willing to look stupid. I've been willing to ask questions that just got answered and ask them again because I didn't understand the answer. I didn't get it. I've learned what I've learned because I wasn't satisfied with the answers that I've gotten, or I've learned what I've learned because one question gave way to another question, and I was I was willing to bug Steve to say, well, like, okay, well now since that means that, now explain this to me, and he's patient to do it. So my encouragement to you, from someone who just doesn't know anything from growing up, is ask questions. Ask as many questions as you can, and then ask the questions that you think of after asking the question. Ask the question.
There you go.
Marcia
There
says,
you go.
my
Good.
hip revival is in May. I like that, Steve. Hip revival. Ha ha. How long was Steve's recovery time? My present artificial hip has dislocated 3 times already. All right, so we'll dive in. Steve, what was your recovery time like?
I have had no problem with my hips dislocating or anything like that. Uh, I've had no problems at all with it. Now that my the septic was the biggest thing, and my wife had to. I had a stent here, and my wife had to give me antibiotics directly into my heart 4 times a day. Yeah, so my whole probably getting back into riding again was probably just about a year and a half, year and 6 months. So somewhere around that. When I finally got it back together, the big problem was, I is of course age, and then you start losing your timing. Excuse me. You start losing your timing. You lose your muscle mass and this sort of thing. So try to do things with your arms. But I've never had my hip come out of place. Did did they do the hip from the front or from the rear?
All right, we're talking hip replacement with Steve Edwards. If you're just joining in, we have abandoned mule and donkeys and we're talking artificial hips. So bring us all your artificial hip questions and we'll take them to Chat GPT. No, I'm just kidding. Very good. Appreciate that, Marcia. Yeah, let us know. Tim says, we just bought an 11-year-old John Mule. He has 2 bad habits. Only 2? That's great. Love to have just 2. He wants to back up when we try to get on, and he wants to kick me when we try to pick up his feet, his back feet. Should we go back to foundation training with the come along rope? I think the answer is going to be yes right there. Steve, what would you say they need to be doing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, here's the deal, folks. People are using incorrect tack on these animals. So to keep you from hurting his back, he's backing up. And that's what a lot of people do. They say, okay, you won't stand still. So they start backing him up. That's their cure so that he will stand still. Not working very well, is it? No, it's not. Okay. So when it comes down to it, yes, go back to foundation training and forget about writing. Writing should be the least amount of thing you want to do. What you want to do is you want to um, do your groundwork, get the mule to learn how to stand still and quiet, and learn also to think about when you're picking up the feet. Okay, using the come along rope. I've got several videos. One in particular, Dave can send to you with me. The mule was not letting me pick up his back foot, and it would give me a fuss 2 or 3 times. And finally, I went and got the come along rope. I put the come along rope on, and as you see in the video, I can pick up the back feet. But there again, building a foundation. You have 6 months, 4 to 6 hours a week of training coming up. Forget about the riding, okay? Focus more on doing groundwork, because otherwise, right now, with him wanting to kick you to pick up the feet, let's just say you're in trouble and you're back in there someplace and he's got a rock stuck in his front foot or his back foot. He's got a rock stuck in there, which can happen. And now what? Now you can't pick up the feet. Why take a chance? Fix the problems and then go out and enjoy life.
All right, so one thing, I do have that video, and I'm going to put it, I already put it in the comment section, but I'm going to bring it up here. Hopefully we won't get any commercials like we did last time. But one of the things to point out here is you'll see Steve has, that's called a quirk, right, Steve?
Yep.
Holding a quirk. And what you're noticing is he's got the come along rope on, and he's using the quirk to cue. He's using the quirk as an extension of himself. So one of the benefits of using this quirk is it allows you to maintain control, maintain a safe distance, maintain holding on to the rope, maintain whatever it is you want to maintain where you want to stand. But it's an extension of you. So the mule doesn't know, oh, he's using a quirk. The mule thinks, oh, that's that, short guy trying to get my attention right there. He views it as an extension of you. He views it as just as he would your arm. And so a lot of times folks will say, well, that's great, the come along rope. I can't even get the rope on my mule's head. Like, they won't like it. Well, then you can take that rope and you can kind of throw it over their back, and they see that rope as an extension of you. They see that rope as you approaching them, and there's ways to approach, and Steve can talk about that. But Steve, did I get that right? Just kind of pointing out that you can use that quirk as an extension, so you're not up close when he's trying to pull away, things like that. It gives you more leverage, I guess.
Perfect. That's right. It keeps you from getting your hand kicked, okay, which is really important. There was a trainer years ago that used to sell a quirk with a hand on the end of it. And not a real hand, of course, but a plastic hand that he would sell, and people would buy them. So just an old quirk or a tree limb, something like that, just something to kind of tap the animal so that he learns to pick up his feet. And then the come along rope helps him to be able to stand still. You saw how stand still he was. Okay, wasn't tied up. Nobody else was on his head, and that's what you want to end up. It's like that farrier that we saw earlier, how we was able to work with him, and he did some of the same things I did, some of the same techniques.
Awesome. Love talking about that. Daniel says, late, but I made it. 72 and sunny in Mesa. Isn't it beautiful, Daniel? Love the weather right now. This is why we live here. Bill laughed. So, ha ha ha, Bill. I think it was laughing about our little hip segment there. Sherman says the come along rope is a game changer. It is amazing to see how the mule respects it after you use it on them just a little bit. Marcia says, wow, and I'm 70 side surgery. So they came in from the side, it sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, mine was called posterior. That's what they did. They said it was the best way to do it. Boy. So yeah, I almost met the Lord a little earlier than what I'd like to have done. But anyway, we got her done, and we're rocking and
rolling. And let's see. Marcia says, I just want to sit in the saddle again so bad. I love my mules, and they have been good sports and make me laugh every day. Amen. That's great. We want that for you too.
You bet. That's one of the things that I learned here, Marcia, with my hip. I learned how that Trail Lite saddle was so much easier on me than my leather saddles, because of course I had my cowboys and this sort of thing. But that Cordura saddle, that Cordura doesn't pull on you. That's one of the nice things about it. I've done a lot of riding now the past 7 years since I've done it. But I got the newest, latest, greatest hip. Where before, if you had a problem like this, they would take that prosthesis out and you'd have to lay in bed for over a month before you was able to put the new one back in. But what they did with me, they put the newest, latest, greatest one in there, and he told me, he said, "Now, Steve, go tear it up." So I tried to, and boy, that Cordura saddle saved my bacon.
All right. Jim says, "What are your thoughts on glue on shoes? The farrier I have has totally switched to these instead of nail on. Excuse me. She says they stay on and flex with the hoof."
Yeah, it's amazing. I have never done it myself. I've always just used nails, and they've been using nails for 2,000 years. You all, it's not a big deal. But I don't know how it would last in my country. But I can tell you that when I've used the old tried and true nailless shoe. Hear that, Dave? Tried and true nailless shoe. And when I do that, it works fine. Hoof is solid. It's always good. I was talking with a guy yesterday. He was saying how he didn't like the shoe because it made too much noise. And I said, well, he said they don't need it because they have black feet. I said, no, they need it because they have contracted feet. Look at your frogs. Your foot should be just as wide in the back as it is in the front. Okay, shouldn't be a half an inch difference between the two.
What was that you said again? Tried and what?
Tried and true, putting on the shoes.
I
Bottom.
get my son when he thought something was funny. Just as like 3 years old, 4 years old, he would look at me and he would laugh and he goes, "That giggles me up." That giggled me up, Steve.
Gives me up. That
That gig
boy.
that giggles. You can use that if you want. I think I need to use it more. Kenneth says 51 degrees here in
There you
Patton,
go.
Missouri, and cloudy. Let's see here. Marcia says they are going to do mine with a robot. How about that? Living in
Cool.
2025, y'all. Living in 2025. Hey, next question comes in from Rachel. She sent this one in about neem oil. She says, I have a mare that I sent away for a month to wean from her baby. I know that's not long enough, but it was the free option. She's no longer lactating, but baby mule keeps trying to nurse. I applied cosmetic grade neem oil diluted with warm water and a very small amount of soap as an emulsifier to her teats. Baby Leroy hates the smell and leaves her alone now. This is a product that I use myself, and I know mama's skin will be fine. Baby isn't nursing once the neem oil is applied, so I'm not too worried about ingestion. I've also been reading about neem oil as a solution for human moms wanting to stop nursing babies. Can anyone think of unintended consequences I'm missing here? I want to cover all of my bases. Do you have any experience with this, Steve, as far as neem oil goes?
Yeah, we use neem oil on our gardens, to keep the insects from pestering different vegetables and this sort of thing, and it's very safe. But they used to make a deal to cover the teats, and it was like a bag, and they had sharp points on it. Matter of fact, they even had 16 penny nails in some case. So when they went up to get to eat, that would punch them, and it would make them uncomfortable. And the matter of fact, the cow or even the horse would kick the animal out of the way. But hey, I'd give it a try. It sounds good to me.
Very cool. Great question. Thanks so much, Rachel. Let's see here. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, this was one of my questions, Steve. I've been reading more online, and folks have been talking about clicker training, and I don't know that we've really. I know it's come up over the years, but I don't know that we've ever really talked about it. And so I was wondering if maybe you could just talk to me for a few minutes about what we need to know about clicker training as far as your experience is concerned.
Well, clicker training, especially with dogs, is a very good thing to have. And if you want your mule to do tricks, uh, then yes, clicker training's pretty cool because what you do is when they do something, like for instance, they go over and they take their nose and they touch a bucket. When they touch the bucket, you click, and then you give them a treat. And then they understand then that what they just done was correct. The clicker clicked, and then you give them the treat. And so, if you're going to teach them how to, to do tricks, that works really good. I can tell you that I know some people tried to do that with picking up the feet and stuff, and it just didn't work. Well, what works, I find the best is the way I do it. But anyway, yeah, clicker training has its place if you want to be doing tricks.
Awesome. Thanks for that. The next question, this was another one that I had, and I know the answer, I think, but I wanted to hear what you had to say. Somebody sent this message in, and well, sent something in similar, and it wanted me to ask this question: when should I move from using the standard pad to the triple duty pad? And I'm talking about the saddle pads, the Steve Edwards saddle pads. Moving from a standard to a triple duty, what's that threshold?
Yeah, you don't really need to move from a standard to a triple unless a couple things. One, you're over 250 pounds. Two, you're a working cowboy, and so you spend 8 hours a day in the saddle, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Or if your mule lost its top line. So if his top line is not doing good, you see a lot of spine there. That triple makes up the difference. Otherwise, no, if you're in a standard pad, you should be doing just fine. Just take a little Windex, spray the perforated neoprene, wipe it down, and you'll be good.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Trying to make sure. MJ sent in a message this last week. MJ says, I'm a writer and I'm asking for the story that I'm writing on. I thought this was pretty cool. Hypothetically, when a single donkey happened to run into a strange herd, how would they react? Like both of them. How would the new donkey react to the herd, and how would the herd react to the new donkey? Would it be realistic for any of them to scream? Would they be hostile at first? Would they be aggressive? Would they be curious? I guess it could depend on several factors. Any help would be appreciated.
Okay, so for one thing, the new donkey wouldn't get really already in the herd because the herd leader would have already gotten after it. They do it right off the bat. When a new donkey is coming into the herd leader pins her ears, which basically is saying, don't come no closer. If the donkey keeps on coming, she pins her ears, she swishes her tail, but the donkey keeps on coming. Now she asked her and she told her, now she spins and kicks and sometimes spins and bites. And she demanded. So ask, tell, demand. That's what the herd leader does. Now, that's most likely what would happen. Now, the downside, if that new donkey was coming in there, he's got a chance of really getting himself injured if he doesn't come in asking for permission to come in, which is what they will do. They will drop their head, lick their lips, and ask for permission to come into the herd. You're rarely going to see an equine, dumb enough to just bust into a herd because usually they can get themselves hurt.
That, I don't know why. It just makes me laugh. You don't see an equine dumb enough to just go in the herd. I guess a little
Makes
bit
you
of
giggle.
restraint is a good word for all of us. Just a little bit of restraint sometimes. I
Yep.
appreciate that. Okay. Steve, we got all the questions. We got all the questions today. We did it. How
Awesome.
about that? And 1 minute before 4 o'clock. That's pretty great. Anything you
Well,
want to say before we're all done here today?
yeah, let's show the Florida mules riding for their first ride.
All right, we got it
Now,
right here.
this lady come to me up in Shelbyville, Tennessee, and she bought her saddle and stuff, and she was German, and she spoke really good English. I thought she did, and so she's riding this mule. This is her first ride. She's been doing all of my techniques, and this is the first ride on her mule. Got that? So they're in Florida, and they're going out on their first ride. I think that's awesome. They did all the training themselves, everything. They didn't go to another trainer or anything, and they've done both their mules the same way, and they say it works. And hey, thank you so much. And they were just, you wouldn't believe the things that they wrote and said. But I thought it was really good to share that. Do this yourself. Like, this would be a good video to go with our Colt Foundation video that we have, where people can watch that and do a little explanation, and that way people can feel encouraged. Do it yourself. Don't go take it to some trainer who don't understand mules. This way here, this mule understands you, knows you, trusts you. Away you go. You're set.
You hearing that, Vanessa? You got this. You can do this. They did it. You can do it. You got that.
Now lose you.
There we go. Thanks so much
Well,
for hanging out with us today, folks. I want to remind you that April 3 through 6, Steve will be April. Oh, come on. Give me April 3 through 6. Steve is going to be in Tennessee. And right here in the chat, you'll see a link to where you can get all the details. And if you just can't wait, he's going to be in Alabama March 27 through 30. And that is the Seven Springs Mule Ride. And so 2 opportunities this spring to connect with Steve in person. It's a lot of fun. Going to have a lot of education. Going to have a lot of storytelling. Going to have a lot of cowboying. It's going to be a great time at both events. If you can make it, you will not regret it. Steve, anything you want to say before we're all done here?
nope. I'm going to say this to you. It's all free. Yes, sirree. Free. Yes, sir. So you will be able to go there to the Rattlesnake Trail Ride, they call it, there in Alabama. And I'm going to be there. I'll spend all the time with you I need to do. Just come in, ask questions, shoot pictures, do whatever you want to do, because I'm there to help you. I'm traveling all that way to come and help you. So come out and see me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. Really appreciate you being here. And remember, next week, it's daylight savings time. It's still 3 o'clock for all of our Arizona friends, but for our Pacific all the way to Eastern friends, 3 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Mountain, 5 Standard, 6 Eastern. So be sure, show up on time, change those clocks, and update your calendars, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.